Welcome to Terrell County, Texas, one of the least populated counties in Texas. And when you look at those kind of stats throughout the country, that means it's one of the least populated in the entire United States. Something like 760 people live in the entire county. There are no incorporated towns. I'm in Sanderson, Texas, which is the county seat. And I don't know too much about this county, so it's going to be fun to learn a little bit. We are on the border with Mexico to the south. And the one thing I knew before coming here was this was the setting for the movie No Country for Old Men. And a Coen Brothers movie. I'm a big movie fan, and that was a great movie and brutal movie in a lot of ways. But in the early scenes, the Josh Brolin plays one of the main characters, and his trailer is in Sanderson, Texas here. And the county sheriff, played by Tommy Lee Jones, is the Terrell County sheriff. So I can, just looking around at some of the landscape, it reminds you of the movie. Now, the movie was not necessarily shot here. It was shot in other parts of Texas and in New Mexico. But in the book, this was where the movie was set. I'm obviously standing here on a track, and there are two stadiums right here that are at the top of kind of the town in the corner. Beautiful setting where these two stadiums are. One is the track and one is the football stadium. And maybe the track stadium here used to be the old football stadium. I don't know, but certainly they play football. And the one that's just a little bit lower than this one, they call it the pit. Makes sense when you see how it's set up there. So really cool setting. I love when they use the natural landscapes and geography and the hills of a town to create a beautiful setting. I imagine it's a lot of fun to watch Friday Night Lights here. So there's a couple places you can hike, and I'm gonna take a short hike, and I'm gonna take the hike over to where the water tower is, because I love water towers. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the history of this county as we take that short hike up to the water tower.
Terrell County is in what's called the Big Bend area of southwestern Texas, bordered on the south by Mexico. The county comprises about 2,300 square miles of rocky terrain with elevations from 1,300 to 4,000 feet above sea level. The annual rainfall is only about 15 inches, so the lands are generally suited for livestock grazing only. Only less than 1% of the land in the area is considered prime farmland. The only trees of any size grow along the dry creek beds. Almost all of the area's agricultural income is from livestock, mostly goats and sheep. Some cattle are also raised in the area, and some farmers grow or produce pecans. Mineral resources include limestone, salt, natural gas, and petroleum. It's on the main line of the Southern Pacific Railroad, and US 90 crosses through the southern part of the county. Numerous rock shelters and caves show evidence of long habitation by early natives, but they're mainly on private property and not accessible by roads. Number of Spanish explorers likely crossed this area in the 16th and 17th centuries. And then between 1871 and 1905, this area was considered Pecos County, which is now to the north here of Terrell County. The region was open for settlement in the 1880s in anticipation of the railroad being built through here. And then finally in 1882, the Galveston, Harrisburg, and San Antonio Railroad reached the county. In 1905, like I was mentioning, that's when it went from being part of Pecos County to being its own county, Terrell County, and they named Sanderson here the county seat. A number of stations were built along the Southern Pacific Railroad between 1946 and 1960. It's when the population reached its peak. Each station had a crew who were responsible for maintenance and repairs over about 10 miles of the track. The crews lived with their families in railroad-owned houses at the stations. By 1980, almost all of those stations had been eliminated by the railroad and the buildings were demolished. 1957, oil and gas was discovered in the northeast part of the county and has been an important part of the county ever since then. As we look at the population, like I said, kind of in the heyday of the railroad there, 1950. That's when the population peaked. So it was growing until that point. And then from then, it's been a pretty steady decrease, and is 760 for the population of the county in 2020, probably continuing to go down. That's probably, I'm guessing, a little less than 700 today.
That was definitely a nice little hike, not too tough, but a little bit of elevation change there. Beautiful up here. You can really see how the town's laid out, how on one side of this hill or mountain, I stayed over at the hotel last night, and there's a gas station over there, but then kind of goes around the bend here, and there's the whole town and the football stadium and track and all that kind of stuff. So hope you learned a little bit there in the history of Terrell County. And there aren't very many places to go and see here. There's only a couple of dots on the map. And you know me, I like to try to go to every single dot on the map. There aren't very many in this town. So let's talk first about this town, a little bit more about the history of Sanderson, and then we'll see if we can find anything else interesting, historical, or maybe just beautiful in Terrell County.
With that beautiful view of Sanderson right there, like I said, Sanderson is the county seat of Terrell County, is on US Highway 90 in what's called Sanderson Canyon in the southwest part of the county. It was originally called Strawbridge in the 1870s and served as a division point for the Southern Pacific Railroad. In 1882, when a roundhouse was built, the name was changed from Strawbridge to Sanderson after Thomas Sanderson, the engineer in charge of the construction. Post office started in 1883, and in those early days, it was definitely an unruly frontier town. Legendary Roy Bean even operated a saloon here for a short time. When Terrell County was created from Pecos County in 1905, Sanderson became the county seat as a result of a countywide election. In 1965, Sanderson was devastated by a flash flood. Water roared down the canyon into Sanderson, destroying numerous homes and businesses. Tragically, 26 people died in that flood. After that, 11 flood-controlled dams were constructed to protect the town against another such catastrophe. Last year, on June 2nd, 2024, 2 tornadoes rated EF1 and EF3 struck Sanderson, damaging or destroying several homes and injuring 12 people. Fortunately, no one died. It's not an incorporated town, so accurate population figures are hard to come by, but it's safe to say the town's population increase and decrease mirror the counties that we just talked about previously. Around 90% of the population of Terrell County live in or around Sanderson, which means there are probably 600 to 700 people in the area at the 2020 census. As you look at the town, there are lots of old buildings. I really enjoy driving around the town. The main street has a bunch of historic buildings on it. The houses that are down the side streets are really interesting to look at. There's certainly a lot of abandoned houses, but there are a lot of old-looking houses that people are living in too. And it's just a mixture of historic old buildings and great architecture from old houses. Really enjoyable place if you like that kind of stuff. A really enjoyable place to drive around and check out. And obviously the setting in the mountains and hills here make for a really fun visit.
They actually have an Amtrak stop here. I'm heading toward Dryden down that road. Found a historical marker. Pretty interesting. The early hours of March 13, 1912, Ben Kilpatrick, former sidekick of Butch Cassidy in The Sundance Kid, and Ole Hobick attempted one of the last major train robberies in West Texas. The two train robbers boarded the Galveston, Harrisburg, and San Antonio Railroad train when it stopped at Dryden, which is 10 miles, a little bit down the road here. On the way to El Paso, they ordered the engineer onto Baxter's Curve, a sharp bend in the railway's rail bed. The baggage cars were uncoupled from the coaches, but while the two searched for valuables, Wells Fargo Express manager David Truesdale bludgeoned one with an ice mallet and killed the other with the first robber's rifle. Kilpatrick and Hobick were buried in Sanderson, and Truesdale was recognized and awarded for his bravery. And I think this is our last historical marker in the county that we haven't seen. This says the Dryden Intermediate Field Site 29, U.S. government first invested in Terrell County Aviation in 1919 with an airfield built west of Sanderson for the 90th Area Aero Squadron that flew biplanes for the Border Patrol. After the squadron relocated, the East Dryden Aerodrome was an active field until 1941. I'm guessing that's what this is right here. During World War II, American Airlines and the government joined to build a new civilian intermediate and emergency military landing field here. The Civilian Aeronautics Administration supervised construction that ended in October 1943. Two intersecting runways, each nearly a mile in length, were built of rock asphalt on a Kalish base, later named Terrell County Airport. This facility has also hosted Civil Air Patrol and military training exercises. Hello, hello. It's pretty nice, actually. Definitely far away from most airports in Texas.
Here's the second largest community in Terrell County. This is Dryden. In 1882, the railroad reached this area, is named for Chief Engineer Eugene Dryden. Became the headquarters of the Pecos Land and Cattle Company in 1884. In 1886, the first large frame building was built for a store. The cattle company drilled a well which supplied the town. They got a post office in 1883. In the 19-teens, the Mexican Revolution and the possibility of border raids brought units of the Army to Dryden, and it grew in the 1920s, reached 100 in population by the time of the Great Depression, and then after that, the population declined dramatically, still maintained around 50 people through the 80s, and since then it has gone down into the single digits. Our next dot on the map here is Cedar Station. Definitely a ghost town, and it's cool to see there's some buildings left. There's not much information that I could find online here, except that I read that it was probably built in the 1940s. So it was not on the railroad. So being built in the 1940s means it was probably built along Highway 90 here as a gas station, maybe a tourist court or something like that. And obviously in this very remote part of Texas, it didn't get too much of business and didn't stand the test of time. But great to see these old buildings still here in Cedar Station.
I'm really glad I came all the way down here to Cedar Station to check out these old buildings, because that's pretty interesting. And the fact that it still said Cedar Station on the side, that was great. The rest of the county, trying to find stuff is I think going to be really tough. I didn't do a very good job of planning this driving, because to get around this county is not easy. There's like a couple of roads, but if you want to get to explore some of the other parts, it's just far. And there's a dot on the map that says Emerson way past Sanderson. So I should have gone there first this morning. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this road that we just drove all the way down. I'm going to go all the way back to Sanderson and then see if there's anything at Emerson. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if there's anything there. And then I'm just going to kind of wander my way north and maybe a little bit east to see some of the rest of the county, maybe some back roads, maybe some two-lane roads. I don't think there's too much left except for maybe some scenic driving, but so far it's been a really good day.
A few miles east of Dryden, heading back, this is the Indio Calzada Stockyards. So it wasn't in Dryden, but just a little bit east. Obviously, they have not been in use for a while. Probably was in their heyday in the 1950s and 60s or so.
So this is Emerson. It says private railroad crossing. Guess somebody lives up there maybe, or used to. Well, it was a long drive out here for not much, except it is really pretty. I mean, you gotta admit. Well, that was the road I was going to go. called Dudley Ranch Road. I was wondering if that might happen because, you know, most of this land up here, there's no one lives up here, but they're just big ranches. So I guess we're going to have to turn around. It's really impossible to know if a road like that is going to be closed. It's on my map. It's actually a red line, which isn't as back road as a white line usually. So it's just impossible to know when you're not from here. So the only thing I can do now is I'm going to drive back to Sanderson, back to Dryden, and then I'm going to head north because that's like the only other road that I know you can go to up, and it's going to go up through the northern part of the county and out. There may be there's one dot up there called Terrell Station. I keep wanting to say Terrell, but Terrell Station, and it's on a road just like this here that that wasn't open. So I don't know if we'll be able to go up there or we'll just be driving over to Dryden and up to the northern part of the county. But luckily it's beautiful driving. It is enjoyable, rolling hills and then some more than hills, and very, very enjoyable Sunday drive, as they say. Well, it looks like this road is able to be traveled down. So it's so weird because this is the same markings on my map. So I don't know how the Delorme Atlas and Gazetteers do their markings, but yeah, I can at least drive down this one. It's not very far to Terrell Station. I think that's what it says. So we'll see what's down there. Basically, we'll turn around, come back, and then head out of the county to the north. Well, we kind of found something. We found the Terrell gas plant, and behind me there's signs here that say the Bassett field. I'm guessing that's Bassett oil field. So yeah, I wasn't expecting something so significant. I thought it might be just a couple of broken down buildings or something. But yeah, Terrell Station wasn't some sort of a railroad station apparently. But yeah, this is like besides Sanderson, this is like the second biggest grouping of buildings in the entire county. So I guess this is probably a good place to end. We'll finish driving on out. Hopefully there's some nice scenery on the way out, so I'll include that at the end here. But this will kind of be the end of me talking about Terrell County. What did you think of this county? There were something like 8 or 10 post offices in the history of the county, and obviously there's only one left, which is kind of remarkable. But here's the rest of them on the screen. With 760 or so people in the county, and all but less than 100 of them in the vicinity of Sanderson, it makes for such a wide open county. It's as wide open as almost anywhere I've been, and once you get outside of that one community. I was at Dryden and I went inside to the store that was in Dryden and they said 7 people live there. So that means about 80 or so scattered around and you really you don't see very many houses, you don't see much at all, but it's very beautiful. It's got interesting history. It's got the connections to No Country for Old Men and the movie, and so I enjoyed it, and I'm fascinated by places like this in the United States that are just so unpopulated. You just never would imagine places like this exist. So hopefully you enjoyed it. I definitely did. And thanks for riding along, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of that video. And now that you're here, let me tell you a little bit about some of the extras that we have on the channel. One of the things you can do is you can become a member. There's 3 levels. There's the supporter level, there's the producer level, and the executive producer level. And all 3 levels have different perks, and as you are more supportive financially, there's more perks. We have extra videos every week and a lot of fun stuff going on in the member section. If you haven't done so, make sure you check out travelwithawiseguy.com. We've got lots of extra stuff on there, and one of the things is merchandise. You can get you Travel with a Wise Guy t-shirt. We have Death Go Round t-shirts. We have some coffee mugs, different things that are a lot of fun, and people seem to have enjoyed. Good quality there. Also on the website, you can do things like check out the Google map. I have a pin dropped in every place I've done videos about, then a link to the video so you can look at the map, and maybe there's somewhere where you live or somewhere you want to go. You can check out that map, and it seemed to be a very popular thing. You can sign up for my newsletter. I do that about every 3 weeks. It's totally free. And there's also all kinds of other links and tidbits in there, old videos, podcasts, just everything I could think of I throw on the website. So make sure you check out travelwithawiseguy.com. Thank you for everyone who has been supportive of this channel, and thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. And now for the reason you're probably here, the outtakes. Welcome to Terrell County. I saw myself in the shadow back there.
See if anybody can tell me what this means. Under Texas law, Chapter 75A, Civil Practice and Remedies Code, an agritourism entity is not liable for any injury to or resulting from an agritourism activity. Does that mean that if I go over there, they can shoot me and they aren't liable? That's what I'm guessing that means. Okay, I'm not going to go there. I'm in the Sanderson Park, and there's a dude just rocking out over here. But thought it'd be good background music for the Death Go Round of Terrell County. Very colorful. Pretty good. I'm giving that a 9 out of 10. The music, not so much.